Why? Some kind of war junkie? I won't say a goddamn word. Why? They won't understand. They won't understand why we do it. They won't understand it's about the men next to you. And that's it. That's all it is.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
I want to make it clear that the views expressed by our hosts are not considered the official stance of MBR Views. Remember, this is all about having fun and enjoying the ride.
Hello and welcome to DAWG, where we talk about all things cannabis. I am your hostess with the mostest, the Bud Bitch. My special guest in this episode is Mr. Brandon L. Wyatt ESQ, a decorated combat soldier and disabled veteran. Brandon received his Juris Doctorate from Howard University School of Law. Brandon is currently a board member of the Minority Cannabis Business Association, MCBA, whose mission is to create equal access for cannabis businesses and economically empower communities of color through policy, programming, and outreach initiatives to achieve equality for communities most impacted by the war on drugs. Good morning, Brandon. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Flower to the people. Flower
Yes.
to the people.
Awesome. So where are you calling in from this morning?
I'm calling you from Washington, D.C. I'm actually doing one of my favorite things out early at a car event. So we're here in a parking lot, but I get to be in my office studio today, which is so very exciting. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Welcome. I'm really excited to get to know you and your organization. And it looks like we have a Mr. Todd Hughes in the wings. We'll get to him after our first break. How does that sound? So
Okay.
We'll have a one-on-one time with you, Wyatt, and then we'll bring Todd on after the first 15. How does that sound?
That sounds good. Let me maybe message him and let him know. But it sounds good. And sorry if folks walk up while I'm on the podcast. Okay, what's up, brother? Sorry. Community, whole bunch of veterans out today.
It's all good. It's all good. You know, it's all about community and connections and friendship. So it's all good here.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to be on the call today. I mean, it was a point in time we were talking about cannabis and being a veteran or anything to do with the armed forces was one of the largest taboos and crimes. It seems, of morality that could be committed. So to be able to speak to you here today freely in my natural habitat is extremely endearing. I appreciate being invited to the show.
Well, it's interesting that the Military Broadcast Radio Network was really open to my subject matter, and I was pleasantly surprised. And they've been really kind of advocates for me, and it gave me this platform. They don't mess with me or anything. If anything, they're my biggest cheerleaders.
Well, that's amazing, and I'm so grateful for Military Broadcast for being a platform that veterans and armed forces professionals can go to and get information free speech is one of the things we went to combat for, one of the things we dressed up for every day. And to have it around this topic that affects our health is so important.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So
Who is
tell us a
that
little
guy
bit
in the
about your
picture? Oh my
background.
goodness. Wow. Who is that
That's what
guy
you
in the
got on your
suit?
website, brother.
Oh man, I don't know that guy at all. He looks like a square. That's absolutely sure. But a little bit about my background. I'm from Fayetteville, North Carolina, from Fort Bragg, which really shapes the heart of my story. Being able to understand veterans and the issues that came back facing service members, some of the men and women that I looked up to so dearly, going through high school, going through middle school, and whatnot before I joined the military. Really, really showed me how sick and disadvantaged that folks can come home, and I knew the risk of joining the military myself. And I still wanted to serve, of course, still wanted to be dedicated, but always had in mind what happened to those I loved and cared about. So as I went forward, I didn't get long out of basic and training, and I went straight overseas. That was fun. I was in college for about a semester. I'm a reservist. So I didn't expect to immediately get deployed, but in 2003, that was the flavor of the day. And it was an honor to serve, go over, did a tour of about a year and a half. I guess double tours back to back, they would kind of call it Enduring Freedom and Iraqi Freedom. And really understood then what it was like to deal with mental health, illness, physical injury, and whatnot. So I came home and I was absolutely destroyed. I was one of those lost paperwork casualties. So all my benefits were messed up. They didn't pay for me to go back to school, these things. So it was really, really a struggle for me. And I got to be open about that. Not that I have any animosity or harshness towards the service, but that was a big issue for a lot of folks, and helped me understand navigating the VA and whatnot a little bit better. But I didn't do that immediately when I came home. I went to school and dealt with being sick, dealt with alcoholism, just to be open and candid, dealt with friends who were committing suicide, and continued just to really focus heavily on books. Stayed up all night just reading, trying to understand the world and kind of what happened to me, which is how I found law. And being able to understand how to make changes and policies that affected folks that look like me, minorities, disadvantaged folks, and now newly disabled individuals, right? And so realizing what that was like. And so after law school, I worked in the government, EEOC, and then I went up to U.S. Customs, which was pretty cool, and learned a lot about drug policy, drug interdiction policy, but also started facing a dichotomy because I started consuming cannabis in law school to help me go to sleep. I was sleeping about 4 hours a night. I wasn't going to make it. Like, I was not going to make it, just to be honest. And I was an athlete, track athlete, all these things, but I just wasn't going to make it. That little sleep and that much alcohol to try to cope. Alcohol is doing nothing. I got shoulder injuries, knee injuries. I'm going to the doctor, giving me pain pills. It's making it a little worse. I didn't really recognize that. And then during law school, one of my good friends who ends up being a educational research doctor introduces me to Mary Jane, and I go to sleep the first night for 8 hours. And from then on, I kind of had to really find ways to put it into my lifestyle until now it is my life. And so at U.S. Customs, I kind of started backdooring, understanding drug policy and the way it was negatively affecting the ports of entry. At the EEOC, I understood job creation and job loss, a lot of drug testing issues. And so I started really hedging in on policy and activist events in Washington, D.C. to help change the laws. And we did. And we used veteran statistics. We created organizations, worked with organizations like the We for Warriors Project. Shout out to Sean Kiernan and good folks out there out west, to really advocate for veterans and to collectivize, bring us together so we could partake in the plant together, learn how to counsel each other, learn how to support each other. That's around the time in the world, maybe 2016, 2015, that we've started to understand the real veteran suicide rates, range between 22 and 55 a day. Blessed, one of my mentors was Colonel William Gunn. He was the general counsel at the Department of Veterans Affairs at the time. And I talked to him adamantly about cannabis and how veterans were being illegally tested and losing their rights. And I thought that that was really wrong. And he said, well, what do you mean illegally tested? You go to the VA, they give you a drug test, and next thing you know, you're losing your benefits, and they're telling you you're a threat to society because they test you for a little bit of weed, but you know, you got other folks committing suicide who can't get the medication balance and whatnot. And oh, that's okay, that's all right. We can't talk about that. So, you know, of course, we worked heavily, did a lot of policies, raised a lot of money and awareness, worked with some good folks, Hoosier veterans, a lot of good folks out of Indiana, and were able to do some programs on the Hill. And then the VA came and released their policy memo that they would not be removing our bikes anymore for testing positive with cannabis. And so from there, I went into really working on the other side of cannabis, which is access, and that's business.
Yes.
And so access and trying to get understanding of how veterans become owners, how veterans become counselors, how veterans become activists, and be able to start ancillary businesses and qualify for social equity rules. And so MCBA, the Minority Cannabis Business Association, I hope anyone on would join, is one of the tools of change that allows us to make different policy moves. And another organization that we started for education is the BCB Mastermind, Bravo Charlie Bravo Mastermind, which allows us to educate across the country, and we really have a good time at it. And that's kind of where Todd comes in. He is also on the board with me, and is my best friend. He's my battle buddy. His dad, he's not a veteran, but his dad was a service police officer in Pittsburgh. And he has an amazing story on even us getting him converted over to utilize the plan and change awareness, understanding of drug policy as it relates to all service members, not just military service members. So that's the long-winded spiel. I'll be quiet from there. I'm sorry.
No, absolutely not. This is what I asked for. So I appreciate it. This is all good stuff. Thank you so much. Keep going if you want. Otherwise, we can take an early quick break and then bring Todd on and we'll chat some more.
That'll be super cool. Please. Yes, let's do that.
Okay. Stay tuned, folks.
stage when you come back.
And welcome back, everybody. We are having an
What's
awesome
up?
conversation with board members from the Minority Cannabis Business Association. Some really cool guys in the house. Joining us now is Mr. Todd Hughes. Good morning, Mr. Todd. How are you?
Good morning. How are you? I'm doing well.
Awesome.
Todd's
Would you
cooler
like?
when he shows his hair. I will say that.
Yeah, I got a lot of hair under this hat, but that gang hat,
You
is I got a
Maybe
lot
we
of
all
hair.
do. Maybe we should all take our hats
I
off.
know. All right.
It's
Yeah,
like
one of
me
these
and him,
brothers
me
is
and him
not
are,
the
are
same.
opposites. Me and him are opposites, right? He has the beard and I got the hair, so that's how it goes.
Awesome. Well, we had a slight introduction. You are Brandon's battle buddy. So if you want to take it from there, where are you from? What do you do?
Where your mama stay? Yeah, so I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but I came to DC in 2006 to go to Howard University. Uh, I'll say this: when it comes to veterans, I'll say my nearest 10 cousins have all gone to the military straight out of high school. I was the only one that my mom was like, "Nope, you're going to school. If they have a draft, we're going to Canada." So
I
that's
have
what I
one like
did.
And
that.
I know his
No,
mom.
you're not
She was
going.
that was definitely the narrative.
That's it.
And like I said, his father is a service member of police force and had been so for 30 years. Todd has
36.
had some 36. Hamburger is really old. And that's his name, Burger. So if anybody's from Pittsburgh and you know Officer Burger, you know what we're talking about.
They
Uh,
probably know him.
they might
Absolutely.
know him. And in
Love it.
that, Todd has an amazing background in government service, federal service, high level security clearance kind of stuff. And wasn't a consumer, and saw me struggling, saw my plight, saw some of the issues that were going on, not just related to student life, and stepped in. And we used to start one of the activist events was a music festival. Imagine having Snoop Dogg and Wiz Khalifa on the same stage at an activist event supporting voter rights and regulations that related to the freedom of cannabis. And that's what we created in Washington, D.C. in 2016 for a program called Dope Fest. And that kind of transitioned into the National Cannabis Festival. Good folks, Caroline Phillips kept that going that summer, and that trend of making sure that music and activism in this area paired. And Todd and I continued to flow forward. But one of our biggest hurdles was getting his father to consume cannabis.
Yeah.
And Todd, you want to tell him a little bit about that and maybe how that kind of worked out?
Yeah, I mean, as a police officer, he got drug tested randomly over time. So it was a very difficult time for him because he was previously a consumer for recreational, right? And so during that time period, Pennsylvania started to open up medical laws and such. And I had to go through the process to get him registered as a patient. And he's like, I got to go to a store to go buy this stuff that I can get from my man down the street. And I'm like, but do they test that product? Do you know what's in the product that you're taking? Do you know how much, what are the terpenes? What are the profiles? What are the different things? And so he kind of gave in and got his license to go and purchase, and he was really very worried about him being able to carry his weapon because he was a previous police officer, but he was taking it, doing well, and then he got real sick, and so right now he's literally in the hospital today. So everybody keep him in your prayers. Shout out
Yes.
to Berger in Pittsburgh. He's dealing with the cancer things and the I'll say the result of radiation and other things, because the cancer's gone, right? But there's always other things that continue to progress.
Right.
And he has issues with having an appetite at eating right now. So cannabis would be helpful, but he's sitting
But he's in
the
the hospital, right? And that changes
Oh.
everything. And so, since doctors won't understand or appreciate it in their true medical regimen, it creates a real issue for family members, caregivers, right, to make a decision like, do I help you get access to your edibles or whatnot? And maybe this contradicts the hospital policy or makes them feel the way. No different when I was mentioning earlier at the VA, you go get tested, they take your benefits away, right?
Yeah.
You're at the hospital, they find out you're using cannabis in the hospital, they might discharge you, right? This is the reality of where we are. They might put you in a drug treatment center. These
Oh,
policies
geez.
have really been skewed. And if you're a parent, they may take away your children. And so, you know, being able to say one thing for sure, being able to see Mr. Hughes Berger's rheumatoid arthritis and his quality of life increase after he had, you know, introduced cannabis and his life was a joy. He was not moving very well, these things. And this is one story of thousands that Ty and I have seen and have encountered about the medical side of cannabis. And, you know, when we kind of coalesce the medical, the policy, the business, veterans have a huge place in that. Service members have a huge place in that. We have a responsibility actually to tell doctors in our community what works for us. And if we don't, we're kind of lying and we're shaming our battles because our battle buddies are struggling with this medicine right now. And we need to continue to collectivize and find ways to make access and be able to afford and pay for it. And so another program we have is the BCB Mastermind, like I was mentioning earlier, at Bravo Charlie Bravo Mastermind. And one of the big things about a mastermind is a collective of 2 or more people that come together to make any objective or goal happen and make it real. And in that, Todd, you want to tell them a little bit about the mastermind and some of the work we do there?
Yeah, so it's an executive MBA training program for diverse entrepreneurs in the cannabis industry. We've been in about 10 states thus far over the last 3 years. 250 students have come through the program, and the 2 days in person piece is just love. I put leading with love in my call down there in the headline and tag, and ultimately we break down the barriers of the ego, right? Some folks are afraid to step into the spotlight because one, they may have clearances, they may have jobs that don't approve of cannabis and that they're trying to transition into the market. But we're looking for folks that are serious CEOs, right? Like folks that are ready to take on the challenge of scaling and building a business. And what we do is connect them with industry leaders, and they're basically our friends that come on and really pour into them and build
kind of sort of. They might like
Yeah.
us every now and then when they come teach our cohorts.
Exactly.
They might be our friends. But the best part about it, you know what the best part about this is? It's totally free.
What?
Can you believe? I knew you were gonna drop bricks.
I'm signing up after
Absolutely.
the show.
It's mandatory 2 days in person. And our next stop is in Tampa. And applications are open now on the website that you're on, and it's totally free. When we've been able to work and be sponsored and find sponsors who believe in programs and believe in a wily old veteran and an old police officer son like Todd, and us going around the world and honoring the other trailblazers in the industry. And as you continue in your journey on this podcast, you will be one of those people we honor. That is for sure, because communication is important. And creating business revenue streams. We've had plenty of veterans in the program and figuring out ways to pair their entrepreneurship mindset with their core community building concepts and with a focus on medicine, right? Regardless of what level they're coming in, because it is medicine for us. And, you know, I mentioned to you yesterday on our little prep call, I don't mean to call it little. I don't know why people call things little, but on our big prep call, I'll say it then, on our big prep call, that, you know, when someone's pain is on 10, if you go and you fill that little scale out and you say your pain is on 10, there is no understanding that anything that you take or do for your body that helps you find relief isn't medicine at that point. And if you're blessed enough to be able to use enough medicine that you can receive euphoria and have positive effects and enjoy your family and implications on life, then, you know, that's great. But I don't call that recreational. So there's a difference between adults who are using cannabis in all its forms for healthcare and wellness reasons. But these businesses have to have a place, and veterans, we have to create a place for ourselves outside the military, and for service members looking for transition career paths. There's no reason why cannabiotics shouldn't be involved. And certainly we can touch a little bit even about hemp. A lot of veterans love hemp. So we'll touch a little bit about that. Todd, you want to talk about the evil twin of cannabis?
The evil twin. If you've ever read Jack Hare's what is it? Now I'm forgetting the name of the book. But anyway, basically, there's a hemp has thousands of uses, right? When it comes down to its potentiality for several different industries. I'm talking about carbon sequestration and phytoremediation, meaning cleaning
Yes.
the land and cleaning
Yes.
the air, to building materials, to automotive industry, to sustainable aviation fuels. So
Mhm.
we've been fighting in the cannabis industry for so long that we had opportunities to evaluate hemp, and not just as a medicine, but as shelter, clothing,
Mhm.
and as protection, right? It can be bulletproof. Like hemp can be bulletproof. Wow, I
Isn't that
didn't know that,
crazy?
right? So long story short, Brandon and I work with a really cool company called Iconoclast Industries. We were successful at obtaining a $20 million grant from the USDA to grow hemp
What?
From the
for climate smart commodities.
USDA, $20
From the
What?
million
federal
dollars
government.
of
Yeah.
jobs.
Yes.
$20 million of jobs. And veterans qualify for this program. Veterans qualify to grow hemp and produce it. And we have the grant to pay them immediately for their growing. And it's even better because it becomes climate smart. The way
Yeah.
that we're working on it, and it becomes a sustainable material that's able to clean the ground and the
Mhm.
greenhouse gases out. And even more, we're focused on those entrepreneurial minds, like Todd was saying, with those
Mhm.
manufacturing skills to create products out of that hemp, right? And to get those to market. So the USDA is fully behind it, fully behind us. So we're really, really, like I said, happy to be on military broadcast radio right now, talking about the projects we're working on in the cannabis space, and to bring veterans forward in that. And I'm a veteran doing it for veterans. This is
Yes, you
amazing.
are.
100%. And the book was The Emperor Wears No Clothes. I just completely lost my mind. But if you read that book, you'll get a very good understanding. It's really good for educating folks that are new to the cannabis and hemp space.
Oh, I love that because I'm also on the Wyoming Normal Board, so I'm always looking for resources to give to people to educate
Oh, yeah.
them. Because here in Wyoming, woo,
I
they
know.
need some education out here, big time.
We
So,
need
so
it
I
everywhere.
love
so
I love
here's
my Wyoming people, but they yeah.
So Brandon
And
doesn't
we
typically
need
toot
it.
his own horn, but I'm gonna toot it for him. He
Yeah.
brought with some folks from Indiana to the Capitol and to the nation's capital and the Capitol building, in front of congressional staffers, and brought the VA and the Department of Health to have a discussion, right? And he brought veterans, nurses, doctors, researchers, and people who have been impacted by the plant, and had a facilitated discussion about just
Wow.
testimonials and understanding. And so that particular conference, the next day, the VA opened up the ability for doctors to recommend and discuss cannabis with their VA patients. And so I
It
think
Thank
was kind
you.
of the
doing more
next
of
day,
those
right?
the
Thank
next
Yeah,
day.
you.
it was kind of the next day. I
That's
love
what
That's
y'all.
we're
I
pretty
love
doing
y'all.
awesome,
I
now.
love
guys.
us. I love us. We were sick.
Right?
We're sick.
Yes.
Like that it was the next day. And it is a big ego check. And like mentioning, shout out to Colonel Will Gunn, shout out to who Indiana veterans for Hoosier veterans for access.
Jeff
Shout out to
Capel.
the We for Warriors Project, and all the groups, Patience Out of Time, Mary Lynn, Mathery, great veterans along the way that just are loved, adored, and are fighting hard. Another veteran I think about, Miss Sharissa Jackson, doing great work, trying to work a program to help veterans use their DNA swab to find out which strands work best for them with a program called
What?
We Decode. Yeah, it's called We
What's
Decode. I'll make sure you connect with Sharissa. She's an amazing nurse. And we got another nurse, Jessica Lewis. She's on the board of MCBA. She took my role, but she's a Marine. So, Army, Marine veteran coming in after Army guy. I know I set the standard, but she might have a new height a new direction she wants to take the org. But she's certainly focused, die hard on the medicine side. So Jessica Lewis, maybe we can get you two nurses
I love
to
that.
come on and talk with you and recommend books and learnings, because we got some great veterans out here doing the work.
Wow, you guys, this is fantastic. I have some real rock stars in the house. I'm going to take a really quick break. It's our 30-minute break, and fill up my coffee, and let's continue to chat.
It's the guts and it's the glory. 100 stripes, 100 stories. It's the Pledge of Allegiance on the 4th of July. It's them handwritten letters from home. It's them sleepless nights alone. It's his newborn baby he left with his wife. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, lay down, hear the line. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, for these stars and stripes. Hey. From the fields of Indiana to the swamps of Louisiana to the golden coast of California, Uncle Sam's the only family he's got. His purple heartbeat won't stop, and his 18th birthday was the day he was born. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, lay down, hear the light. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, for these stars and stripes. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, stand on the front line. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, pay the ultimate price. Oh. He was the man of the house when he was born. His family is proud but torn. But if you knew him, you would understand. He was raised on how to be brave, just to see the flag still wave. And then he came home with only one hand. 'Cause Mr. Red, White, and Blue, lay down, hear the light. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, for these stars and stripes. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, stand on these front lines. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, he'll pay the ultimate price. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, lay down his life. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, for these stars and stripes. March in line, march in line. Hey. Hey.
And we're back with our guest. Looks like Mr. Todd Mr. Sound Guy, can you bring Mr. Todd back? Yeah, okay, good. So he can join in whenever he wants to. Awesome conversation with you guys. So you had met with the Veterans Association or the Veterans Association.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. I figured you said you wanted to talk, so now I'm just gonna have a conversation with you.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember when that came out that the doctors were now allowed to talk to us, and
Right.
that kind of blew my mind. That's huge.
Yeah, it was a big fight, and I want to thank every veteran who touched that, every civilian who touched that, so many VA officials who were giving different types of evidence, understanding that there, I guess, is not just scientific evidence, but trial-based evidence, but clinical evidence, evidence from users giving their feedback, giving their direct understanding of how the plant was impacting them. So that is, paramount to say, that was huge.
Right, exactly. So I recently graduated with my Master of Science in Medical Cannabis Science and Therapeutics from the University of Maryland School of Pharmacy. And
Hey,
and
shout
so
out
I
to Miss
yeah,
Buckley. You know
went to
her?
school a little bit there, kind of around the Beltway area. So each year I had to do an in person. It was mostly online, and of course
Okay,
we weren't able to touch the plant. Going through the program, folks would come up to me, okay, what are you getting your master's degree in? And I would tell them what I'm going to graduate school from, and they automatically thought that, oh well, do you have some in your book bag or something? No,
right.
no, it's not that way.
Like not
But it was
necessarily. Like you have
not
a system in your
necessarily.
body though that has receptors for cannabis. Yeah, you start to really educate. You're special. You're super special. You have an expertise in something that doctors across the country swear that they're at the top of their craft, but they couldn't hold a candle to you.
Well,
And I'll say
there
that
were
here
some
on this
doctors.
radio.
There were a lot of nurses in the program, and I was really stoked to see that the Nurses Association now recognizes actual cannabis nurses.
Yeah.
I thought that was definitely a move in the right direction for sure. I was
Well,
stoked
that's
about
why I wanted
that.
to mention Sharissa Jackson earlier. She was the medical director at one point for AMVETS. She's a veteran. She made a program, We Decode, to help veterans understand their biological makeup concerning cannabis. And when you really talk about, and Jessica Lewis with MCBA, and a classic veteran, Marilyn Mathery, could not go without saying that all nurses, and
Yes.
and they had a true impact and have had the education for years with a conference called Patients Out of Time, Clinical Cannabis Therapeutics. They've been doing great. So
Awesome.
nurses lead the way, and doctors still,
Yes.
they take this Hippocratic oath, and I
Mm-hmm.
believe in it, but do they now?
Right. That needs to be like part of their curriculum or something, I would think.
I mean, at the point you have how many states legal and is not? Isn't that malfeasance when an educational facility institution is supposed to understand something or do something? I don't know. Maybe I'll just be quiet. I don't want the law thing to
No, you're
happen.
right.
But
You're right.
a
I've
lot
heard
of
that
doctors are,
before.
are wrong right now.
Yeah.
And they may feel that they're wrong because they don't have the research and that the government wouldn't let them get the research. But then there, once again, when you have patients who tell you vehemently this has a positive impact, there's a different type of evidence-based theory that goes along with
Yeah.
that. And it
Yeah.
must be respected. It must be.
Yes, absolutely. Are we having problems getting Mr. Todd back? Because I kind of wanted to talk to you guys about the whole rescheduling. I needed to get you guys' take on what does that mean for the cannabis business industry?
Okay. Rescheduling, I'll let Todd start. Yeah, that'll be a good
Okay.
one for Todd.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to the rescheduling, descheduling conversation, rescheduling is potentially good for business, potentially, right? It's allowing for the tax issue to be discussed at a broader level. It does still take federal policy, from congressional policy to make laws that govern this particular industry. But it does allow for more expansion there. There has been research done as well, through 50 institutions. A ton of research has been done on the cannabis industry. So I don't want to say that moving from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 is going to necessarily change much when it comes down to research, but now it's going to make it more accessible and easier for institutions, organizations, businesses to conduct research with cannabis plants. But we can't forget that, cannabis is federally illegal. The war on drugs has been
Yeah.
what it was, and people have been impacted across the board, whether race, creed, what they stand for, anything. They've all been locked up, and I think for a plant, and we're talking
Yeah.
about a plant. Like, it is messing with me
Hmm.
because it's literally a plant, and we're talking about something that grows out of the ground. Put seeds in it and it grows. So
I
um,
know.
I think the descheduling conversation doesn't go away. And I think the advocates such as yourself and others need to continue to push to make sure that, decriminalization, expungements, and
Yes.
opportunities for
Yes.
social justice are still available for the folks that have been the trailblazers in the industry, the ones that carry the industry on their backs. I mean, look at Brandon Wyatt. He was a veteran, PTSD,
Mhm.
dealing with saving the country, fighting to have free speech, right? And he can't use this
Sorry
pen.
about that.
Had to be done.
Right. So I do think it's very important. I think rescheduling is a first step, but it's not the last step. It's like Kobe said, job's not done. So let's keep the
Yes.
ball moving, you know?
Yes. Well said, Todd. I like that. I'm gonna trademark that one. I'm stealing it from you.
Take it. If it works, take it.
Well, here in Wyoming, we have absolutely nothing. We have no medical program. We have no rec program. In this last legislative session, they took away the synthetics. Now, I'm not a fan of synthetics. I wasn't really too sad to see that go. However, there were people who were using the synthetics for their pain management and whatever, their anxiety and that sort of thing. So I feel for those people who lost in synthetics in that respect. But the whole like rescheduling thing, whenever that came out, the prohibitionists here really kind of hit the airwaves, and they were there like, oh no, nothing's going to change here in Wyoming. So it's kind of like a David and Goliath type of situation here. And we're kind of, I was told that Wyoming is like one of the most conservative states.
Really?
And good luck
So what's
trying to
what's
get
going on
anything done
with
here.
hemp there? What's going on with
Yeah, I'm also a hemp farmer. We have 80 acres out on the Wind River Indian Reservation. I'm a First Nation tribal member of the Northern Arapaho tribe here on Wind River Indian Reservation. So, and my ears perked up when I heard that you guys want to give out money to hemp people. I'm a hemp person, so
Hey, flower to the people.
Go to
Sorry.
iconoclast.industries and sign up as one of the farmers. Absolutely.
Iconoclast.industries. Iconoclast. What is an iconoclast? Words are important. An iconoclast is a breaker of idols, a breaker of norms, a breaker
yeah,
of
there you go,
tradition,
disruptor.
a disruptor. So iconoclast.industries. And you can find that
Write that
program.
down.
Native Americans are the original love of the land in these here United States, and the caretakers and responsible, and getting a wonderful shout out to Mary Jane Oatman, Rob Perro out in Wisconsin, and working out there with the Lower Sioux and the Sagona Chippewa tribe to try to get them in the program. So, being able to be a disadvantaged or first time farmer is a way that you can qualify for money at USDA, and USDA is supporting hemp farmers. And hemp should not be illegal in Wyoming because that would circumvent federal law, which is the Farm Bill. So there's a lot of things there that you see, but I do agree that some level of synthetics and whatnot are not appropriate. I'm very much so a traditionalist as far as the plant is concerned. And
Give me the plant.
Give me the plant, flower, give me the flower. But at the same time, I recognize that as we go to build efficacy for more medical trials and things that are consistently able to be dosed, that will be a measure. However, I want to tell a story about a wife of a veteran, Kathy Jordan, down in Florida. Kathy Jordan is a young lady, all of 80 plus years old. And when I met her, she was the oldest living ALS patient. And if you know anything about that, ALS constricts your lungs. It's basically like your fluid mucus is building up. You can't expel it. Your chest muscles aren't strong enough. They deteriorate. And she cussed me out very politely and told me that, Brandon, you know why? And we were at Berkeley University and I was teaching. This was 2017. She said, Brandon, you know why? The doctors, they don't know squat. And I said, why, Miss Jordan? Tell me why. And now, mind you, she rode her wheelchair all the way from Fort Lauderdale over up to the Capitol, a motorized wheelchair to be able to get Florida's medical bill passed. She's very instrumental. Her husband is a veteran. He's amazing. Mr. Jordan, amazing. And so when I tell you I'm listening to her fuss, because I need to understand what she's saying, because she has something to say very important as at that moment the world's oldest living ALS patient. She said,
Mm-hmm.
I need flour on the schedule. I said, why? She said, because the doctors, they don't understand that every morning I get up and I go to my pool. She said, no, we're not rich. I live in Florida. Everybody has a damn pool. This is what she said. And she says, I go to my pool, then I light a J and I walk laps up and down the pool, and it makes me cough and I need to choke. And it helps me spit out the fluid because the smoke is triggering my lungs, the fluid to pull up, right? And it hit me. I'm just a lawyer. I'm not a doctor at all. I'm a doctorate of laws. But I understood then that a doctor needs to listen to her, right? Let me get you in front of a physician right now, and I want them to tell me why that this theory isn't true, why this flower wasn't needed on policy to help patients who found diverse uses such as that. And those could be more widespread uses. And I'm not saying smoking is good. She exclaimed that it wasn't either, but it was necessary and better for her than the alternative, which was death, her lungs drowning her, right? And so, being able to understand that her husband was a strong Vietnam era veteran and he stood right behind her, had his leather jacket on, everything. Him and I looked as far apart as normal civilians would think. But we understand that shared experience, and so does everyone on this wire now, that we are veterans. We don those uniforms. We strip down to understand the greater truths of this country. And one of them is that cannabis is medicine.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. That's an awesome story. And there's so many of those like that out there. Especially with the new, the burn pit. The government finally broke down and said that we were poisoned over there. If you were overseas in another country and you were exposed to open burn pits, I recently got diagnosed with asthma, and I'm there. I'm usually, I'm like a horse. I don't get
Right.
sick.
You just keep
And
going.
I recently got my lips started turning blue, and I went into the VA, and they wanted me to go into the emergency room first, and I said, I don't think I'm dying. My lips are just turning a different color. But I went in and they did a test on me, and I have asthma now. And so the PACT Act, I filed for that, and it's taken almost a year now that since I've gone and been kind of diagnosed as it, and I still haven't heard back from the VA. But that brings up a good point, is that with that burn pit, being exposed to burn pits, people are going to have all kinds of respiratory issues coming out of that. And I mean, I guess it was percolating inside my body, and now my body's just getting older and saying, I've been poisoned, and now I need some help. So,
Todd, what is the joke I always tell people about me burning stuff?
Oh, and when he was in the Army, he had to burn poo for a living to keep
your life is
sanitary,
hard.
to keep it clean. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I told that as a story of endearment, and I said it, hey, I said I had to burn shit for a living, and that was a something I did with pride, and something I did understanding that it was saving the lives of those around me, not something that we did thinking I was killing myself.
Yeah, right, exactly. Oh yeah, I've been her latrine queen many times, many years. But and the government finally, admitted that we've been poisoned, and now all the fallout, all the veterans who were exposed to that. I mean, when you walk out of your tent and you walk outside, and it's like pea soup, and it's not. There's something wrong, when you walk out of your tent and it's not a bright blue sunny day. It's like pea soup. There's a problem.
Right.
Well, the crazy part is, we have some different technologies and things that hemp is used for, that folks should get in contact with us about. If any government leaders or contract officers are on the phone, we do have some alternative uses of sustainable products that reduce the harm that we're doing on environments, right? That we can bring
Yes.
in, utilize, and remediate those areas. So I'd love to talk to any contract officers. Easy to find. My email, Brandon at Bravo Charlie Bravo Mastermind.com. Or no, B Wyatt, excuse me, is B Bravo Wyatt, my last name, WYATT, at Bravo Charlie Bravo Mastermind.com. B Wyatt at BCBmastermind.com. Because these are solutions that we have to bring into the world. It's not okay to just burn jet fuel, to burn every bit of feces and leave ground scorched and expect the water supply not to be damaged, right?
Yeah.
And I respect that at one point in time, the education was that we did that because we need to reduce the harm of germs. And I believe in that. I'm proud of the service and all the sacrifices we have made. But if we have opportunity to do better and have ways that we can do that, we should. And for all the service members who are in pain like yourself, please seek care. Please humble yourself to do that. Humble for another. Humble yourself for your family and your loved ones. Receiving treatment is not easy. It's not.
Yeah. That was a huge hit for me. Like, oh, I'm sick? Ew.
Right.
No. Oh, God. But yeah, I just did a podcast not too long ago with a group who is using hemp for to help with biomass, helping to remediate things that have happened in the environment. She's not Native American, this business lady that I did the interview with, but she works with Native tribes. And she actually just got a huge, a substantial grant from the EPA. And she emailed me. She said, Holly, this is great. The EPA just gave me a bunch of money to continue my hemp work as far as using it for remediation of the environment. And I said, great, my door is open. Come on my show. Any kind of updates that you have, I want to hear about it. And the same way with you guys, my door is always open. You haven't seen the last of me.
I'm glad. I'm glad to hear that.
This is just a start.
This is the beginning of a beautiful relationship, I think, or I hope so. So we're running out of time, guys. This has been a wonderful trip that you guys put me on, and you guys are doing fantastic work. Thank you so much for coming on. I'll be in touch, and I will send her your information, this young lady who's doing all this wonderful hemp bioremediation work, and maybe that I could hook you guys up and something beautiful could come out of that as well.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for having us. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your service. Thank you everyone out there listening for your ear and for your service. This country is beautiful. This world is beautiful. Let's sustain it. Let's keep going. It's about a plant. Flower to the people.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Todd. Thank you, Mr. Wyatt. Have a good week, everyone.
You too. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
That's the show for today, everyone. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with an all-new show. And remember, you can listen to us again and again. The podcast of this radio show is available right after we go off the air tonight, anywhere that you can get your podcast episodes. And thanks for joining us today. I'd like to take a moment to talk about something close to my heart. Military Broadcast Radio is doing incredible work to support our veterans and bring their voices to the world. They rely on your generous donations and your dedicated volunteer hours to make it happen. I encourage you to consider supporting NBR in any way, form that you can. Use this QR code that's attached to the picture, or you can go to our website at mbradio.us. That's MikeBravoRadio.us to learn more about how you can donate or volunteer even just an hour a week from your home. Help make a difference in the lives of our veterans, because once again, we're all here for you and not for us. We're giving our veterans a voice.
Awesome.